This is a download from Rutland Radio.
Hello, and thank you for downloading the Rutland Radio podcast from rutlandradio.co.uk. This is where you can hear the best bits from the last week. It's Rutland Radio. I'm sure you've heard about the Get Busy Living Centre that Matt Hampson is putting together. This is an incredible project. We're actually speaking from inside it at the moment. It's just outside Borough on the Hill. I'm here with Matt. How long has this building actually been going on? Because when we saw the pictures, the framework, it was an old barn, wasn't it?
Yeah, well, we got the road into the centre just before Christmas, and then we started work early in the new year, and then obviously things have progressed quite significantly since then.
It really took me by surprise when I just came off the main road and, you know, as you say, you've got the road in here, and there's tons of people working on it at the moment.
Yeah, lots of contractors. I think they've been given the push really by the bosses to get it complete mid-October time, so yeah, exciting times.
And you had a load of Leicester Tigers helping paint it just a few days ago.
Yeah, the boys came up, lent a hand. It was more for publicity more than anything else. But they came along and cleared up the site. And yeah, it's great for them to be involved and feel like a part of it, really.
Tell us about the foundation and what really you set it up to do, because it's helped an awful lot of people locally who've been injured through sport, hasn't it?
Yeah, well, it's nationwide and beyond, really. We've given out £1 million worth of grants now, and this centre's going to cost best part of £1 million as well to build. So, yeah, we've raised a hell of a lot of money, and we've helped a lot of people and their families to get busy living once again.
So how will this actually help individual cases? Because I guess there's specialist centres for whatever people need all over the country anyway.
We found out that just by having a meeting at my house, we did some filming 3-4 years ago, how important it was just to get families together and individuals together just to share experiences and to move on and to offer a bit of hope, really, for something that may have been negative initially and to turn it into a positive, really.
So what sort of services will we be able to offer here? Because there's many rooms here.
Yeah, well, we've got a sort of classroom that we're in at the moment. We'll be able to get school groups and businesses along to basically tell them about the foundation, the work that we do. We'll also be able to get people to come along and cook as well. We've got a kitchen that is wheelchair accessible. So, yeah, we'll be able to get people to come along and learn how to look after themselves nutritionally. We're going to have a garden out the back as well. We're going to grow our own produce as well. And then there's going to be a gym upstairs as well, which will be quite a big part of it. The gym will be a rehab gym where people will be able to sample like state-of-the-art equipment that they wouldn't normally be able to afford in their own home, and they'll be able to come along and try and improve their situation.
So it's all about kind of the next stage once, you know, they've been into hospital, and then it's what happens next that you're helping with. Yeah,
it's a sort of interim period between leaving hospital and doing something productive with the rest of your life. It's that middle part, really, with that link where we can offer people the sort of hope and inspiration to move on with the rest of their lives and do something productive.
You must be really excited looking around this every time you come here and you see new bits, you know, and improvements.
Yeah, I am. Things have really progressed these last couple of weeks, and it's sort of dawned on me really how important this centre is going to be and how many individuals that will be able to help. And yeah, it's just a pretty unique place.
How can people help the foundation and help this centre who are listening?
Just try and look at what we're doing and try and be inspired by it, and also if they can raise some money and some funds towards it, that would be absolutely amazing. Go onto the website and have a look at how they can help and how they can offer their services, really.
So within the next month, you should be able to work from here. You know, services will start to happen.
Yeah, this next month, it's going to be a massive part of the foundation. I think it's really going to hit home how important this centre is going to be. And
say if you had this centre yourself when actually, you know, everything first happened to you, you know, in your early 20s.
Yeah, I think that was the sort of inspiration behind it, really, for me personally. I didn't really have many mentors. I had a few people in hospital, but there wasn't many positive role models for me. And to have positive role models, we've got so many great beneficiaries and ambassadors for the foundation is so important. And it just shows you what you can do with your life, really.
I suppose the first person you helped, Henry, the art exhibition is unbelievable. You know, the fact that he's been painting with his mouth and the quality of the work.
Yeah, Henry Fraser, he's just brought out a book actually, and yeah, he's so inspiring in what he does. His paintings are phenomenal, and he's moved on with his life quite considerably since his accident, and it just shows you what you can do really with your life after a serious injury through sport.
Matt Hampson, thanks for joining us on Rutland Radio. I can't believe it's nearly here. It seems like it's been a long old process.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been a long time coming, but it's worth the wait.
Rutland Radio.
So I was talking yesterday about Stamford rocks and about this, I suppose it's kind of like a new craze, really. I'm here with Lisa Wiley, who helped found the group, and also Ruby, who has designed some. Now, tell us how you first discovered this whole thing, about decorating. It's basically decorating stones and leaving them.
That's right, yeah. We first found one near Derwent Water in the Lake District. We found this rock, beautifully painted, and on the back of it said, post a picture on Beverley Rock's Facebook page. Didn't know what it was about. We found the Facebook page and saw that there were hundreds and hundreds of rocks that had been painted and posted on this Facebook page. Came back to Stamford and decided it'd be a really nice idea to do something similar here, because Ruby enjoyed finding the rock, and so many children get pleasure from decorating them and finding them. So Rachel first set up the Facebook page, and it's just gone from there. More and more people have been added. More and more people are finding rocks, painting rocks and putting them out there. And it's going really well. It's just a really nice thing to find.
And the idea is you just get a big stone, paint it however you like.
Yeah, we just use Sharpies, we use acrylic paints, bit of glitter, nail varnish even. Nail varnish is really good for using on them. And then just put a clear coat of outdoor varnish or nail varnish just to seal them, to weatherproof them. And then a little message on the back saying, take a picture and post on Stamford Rocks Facebook.
So there's no clues for anyone as to where they are. It's just a chance of looking.
It's just a chance meeting with them on the high street. We've hidden a few in shops, in the library, in a few places where people sit, like the churchyard in Stamford, where people sit and have their lunch. We've left a few there before now.
And you kind of check the page and then you see that someone's found one of yours.
Yeah, we actually put some out on Saturday night, and on Sunday somebody posted they'd found one. And yeah, my little girl was absolutely chuffed to bits that somebody had found one of our rocks.
Ruby, can you talk to us about what you've done?
Well, I painted a ladybird, and I basically painted the rock all red first, and then once that had dried, I put the little face on, then I did the black spots. And then, once that had dried, we put the varnish on it, and then I put the eyes onto it.
Fab, so it's a little ladybird stone. So have you found any of these anywhere?
Not really. We only found the one in the Lake District so far.
We're hoping the more people find out about it, the more stones there will be to find.
Do you know any of your friends that have got into this as well?
Not really. I know I left one out at school. Somebody found it, they brought it to the teacher, but I don't know what they're going to do with it after that, so...
And which school is that? Do you mind me asking?
Sargent.
Yeah, so this is the start here. We're in right at the start.
Yeah, absolutely. We've put a few out so far. I've got a few that I've done that are superhero themed and Star Wars themed. I'm going to take them along to Feel the Force Day this weekend in Peterborough. It's like a Comic-Con type thing. So yeah, we're hoping that will bring some happiness to some people that find them there.
Highlights from the past 7 days, the Rutland Radio podcast.
It's Rutland Radio breakfast time. I'm Rob Pisani. Sitting opposite me now is Lorna Gray. Now, Lorna is from Oakham, and she's managed to enlist all of her family to a big abseil. Now, Lorna, I remember talking to you when you did your bungee jump. This was to celebrate a big birthday, wasn't it? Do you mind saying what?
It was indeed, Rob. It was for my 60th birthday, and it actually wasn't a bungee jump, but it was a base jump from the Sky Tower in Auckland, New Zealand. And as my 65th birthday, I thought we'd better have another challenge. And it happened that I saw this challenge on my birthday, so I've enlisted the whole family because I knew they wouldn't want to miss out.
So your husband, Alan, your daughters as well, and you're all going to to abseil off the Olympic stadiums.
It's called the Orbit at the Olympic Stadium. It's the highest sculpture in the UK, and it stands at 114.5 metres, which is, in old money, 376 feet. It's a free-fall abseil, because for those of you that have seen it, it looks like a helter-skelter with lots of red tunnels and things around, which I think you can actually slide down should you so wish. But I'm going the direct route, and we're doing a free-fall abseil.
Wow. Are you a fan of that kind of stuff? Are you an extreme sports person?
Absolutely not. I do not like heights. I have a fear of heights. But I believe if you're going out to ask people for sponsorship, it should be something that is a challenge that you're not comfortable with. Alan, my husband, thinks I should do a sponsored silence next, because he does think I will find that a lot more difficult. And he's probably right.
I wouldn't like you to do a sponsored silence on the radio right now, though, but Make-A-Wish. This is a charity you've been involved with for some years. You drive all over the country helping children and their families.
I do indeed. I've been a volunteer for Make-A-Wish since 2004, and during that time I've probably done in excess of 250, probably near 300 wish visits. I visit children in their homes, and these are children who are going through a life-threatening illness, aged between the age of years of 3 to 17. The lovely thing about Make-A-Wish is when they have their one true wish granted, that the whole family is included. So that's the siblings as well. So if I get a 4-year-old who wants to go swimming with dolphins, I can actually let them know in advance. Unfortunately, there is an age limit on that.
Yeah.
So you have to wait till you're 6. But on the whole, we do our level best to do their first one true wish. If we can't manage that one, we go on to a second wish. But I have, over the years, helped with organising wishes, some fantastic wishes, and if you want, I'll tell you about one very special one.
I'd love you to.
I went to see a young man, but this young man was very embarrassed. He had cancer, and he was 15 years old, and he was extremely embarrassed about his cancer and really didn't want to come and talk to us. Everything about his wish was something to do with Spitfire. His first wish was to fly in a Spitfire. His second wish was to meet a World War II Spitfire pilot. And the third wish was to own a piece of his Spitfire. We found him, with some help from a local lady who's a fundraiser for the Benevolent Fund. I found a 96-year-old gentleman who we met and who was absolutely fantastic. And my young man gave him as a gift 2 bottles of Spitfire lager, which was great.
Yes.
But I tell you what, you could see why he was a Spitfire pilot. He still didn't wear glasses. Outside, in his own parking space, which had his name, he was an ex-squadron leader, was his Audi convertible. You know, this is a 96-year-old, no glasses, did have a hearing aid. And he took my wish child out for a quick spin. And when he came back, I said, "How fast did you go?" He said, "Well, the last time I looked at the clock, it was 90 miles an hour. Now, you think that'd be fine, but actually it wasn't on the airfield, it was out on the road.
Wow.
So he had a great time. And the young man on his way home, when he got home, he lived over in Northamptonshire. His mum let me know, she said, "I told him it was time to go to bed." And he said, "I don't want to go to bed tonight, because if I do, it will mean this day is over. And this day I do not want ever to end." So it was amazing.
Rutland Radio.
Hi, my name is Chris. My partner is Wendy Lee. We are both braving the shave this Friday night at 7 o'clock at the White Lion in Whissendine for people affected by cancer.
So what made you do that then? I mean, you've got a good head of hair there.
Well, we both have somebody who has cancer. My mum is fighting it for the second time, so just thought it'd be the right thing to do.
So people come along and cheer you on Friday night 7?
Yes, they can sponsor me. There are raffle prizes on the night, and I'm also accepting generous donations.
Excellent. So that's this Friday, White Lion at Whissendine at 7.
That's correct.
Have you got a professional with the clippers? Or?
We have. Her name's Sarah. She does the hairdressing in the village. She's giving up some time to make us bald.
Well, I guess you're hoping for some warm autumn weather.
Yes, hopefully.
Well, good luck with it. Thanks for joining us on Rutland Radio. So it's this Friday night, 7 o'clock at the White Lion at Whissendine.
That is correct. Thank you for having me.
Rutland Radio.
Talking to former High Sheriff of Rutland, Andrew Brown, who farms in Caldecott, and also Jeff Rowe, who puts together the Leicester Comedy Festival, because when Andrew was High Sheriff a couple of years ago, he said he'd bring comedy to the role, and he did. He brought part of the Leicester Comedy Festival to the Rutland County Museum. Now, Andrew is, I suppose, returning the favour by being part of the Stand-Up Challenge. Now, Jeff, tell us about the company, the charity that actually puts together the Leicester Comedy Festival. You know, is it all about basically, encouraging that to happen? What does the charity do?
Yeah, well, Big Difference Company produces the annual Leicester Comedy Festival, which happens in February. So next year is our 25th anniversary. And I guess the festival is a mixture of household names, famous people that you'd know off the TV and off radio and the like. But also we have a very broad, what might be called a community programme, where local community voluntary groups, charities get involved in the festival and use it really as a platform to promote themselves. But also we do work in schools, we do work with older people, people with dementia, with poor mental health, that kind of thing. So the festival, I think, is a real local event which has a huge national profile.
Now, Andrew, you're actually part of the Stand-Up Challenge. You're going to be in front of business colleagues on the 25th of October and doing a bit of stand-up. How much stand-up have you done?
Well, I haven't actually done any stand-up yet, and the prospect is quite terrifying. I've got my script essentially in front of me now with a lot of notes on it. I went to see someone last night, a friend of mine, who's given me a few pointers as to where I was going wrong and a few extra tips.
Now, you've done after-dinner speaking and things like that before, and talked a lot about the rural economy and that sort of stuff. You're very passionate about educating people about farming. Is that the sort of area you're hoping to cover?
Well, I'm going to do a little bit about farming and farmers. I'm currently a student at De Montfort University, so I'm going to try and crack a joke about that. Also, one or two jokes about other things I've done in my role as a magistrate as well. So there's a sort of broad spectrum of scenarios that I'm going to use, rather than sort of have you seen my wife and my mother-in-law's so fat jokes.
Yes.
It's more scenario type jokes, and there's going to be a bit of acting and maybe even a little bit of singing in there as well.
Oh, fabulous! More than just social observation, which I suppose is kind of where comedy is based now, isn't it? More than anything.
That's right. Yeah. And people seem to be the trend seems to be for that sort of comedy rather than the sort of Les Dawson type jokes that sort of went out about 20 years ago, really.
Now, Jeff, how many people have you got actually doing the stand-up challenge?
I think we've got about 6 or 7 people doing it in Leicester. We're also now running it over in Wolverhampton. But a real cross-section of local business people from Leicester, Leicestershire and Rutland. I think it's an important point that you kind of mentioned, really, is a lot of people that we work with and who are rising to the challenge have done perhaps presentations before. They've done after-dinner speakers. I think a couple of them have probably been best men at weddings and stuff. But this is very different to that. This is stand-up comedy, and I think the more stand-up that people like Andrew and the other competitors can see, the better over the next few weeks leading towards the main stand-up challenge, because it's a very different type of thing. There are kind of tricks that the stand-up comedians use, when they walk on, the way they hold their microphone, all that kind of thing. And it's although it's a bit of fun, I don't want to make it too serious. The whole thing is supposed to be fun, and I hope that Andrew really enjoys it. And raises lots of money for charity, but it's also it's quite important that they adopt the persona of a stand-up comedian on the night, because they will be judged. I will be a judge on the night, and there will be an overall winner. So we'll see what happens on the evening.
Well, fabulous that we have a Rutland competitor in this. Andrew, yet
Absolutely.
again, you're trailblazing for Rutland.
Well, of course, we've always got to fly the flag for Rutland, haven't we, against our slightly bigger neighbour Leicestershire, but I'm sure we can hold our own.
So you've not done any stand-up yet. Are you waiting till the night itself, the 25th of October, to unleash your act, as it were?
Well, I'm practising it on various very tolerant family members, dogs, sheep, anything that will listen, basically. But I'm trying to hone my skills. I've got 4 weeks. It's 4 weeks tomorrow before I'm actually live on stage. As you said, Rob, I have done quite a few sort of after-dinner speeches and things before, but in that scenario I've always had a script to fall back on in case I forget what I'm going to say. That really isn't an option in this scenario. So hopefully it'll go okay. But I'm going to be practicing pretty hard over the next 4 weeks to make sure I don't fluff my lines, so to speak.
Part of the reason you're here is to get some more money as well, some more sponsorship. So how can people do that?
Well, if you go onto the Big Difference Company website or the Leicester Comedy Festival website, or just search Stand-Up Challenge Leicester, then it will bring up the contestants. And the charities that we're raising money for is the Big Difference Company, which raises money to help disadvantaged people throughout Leicester, Leicestershire and Rutland. They do work with people with prostate cancer and taking comedy into schools. So it's a great way of helping people. And of course, if you can have a good laugh at the same time, then all the better.
And Jeff, can people buy tickets to support Andrew and the rest of the acts on the 25th of October?
Yeah, they absolutely can. Again, I don't want to scare Andrew, but it's normally a sellout. We've done it in the last 4 or 5 years. So there'll be about 300 people there on the night. We will be filming it as well, and assuming Andrew is happy for it to go on the internet the day after, it will go online. So if people can't come on the night, they can certainly see it forever on the internet. So fingers crossed that Andrew makes it work on the evening. But yeah, all the information, if you go to standupchallenge.co.uk, everything is on there. The show is on the 25th of October at the Y in the centre of Leicester City Centre. So, yeah, it'll be a great night. And I have to say, I'm enormously pleased and grateful to Andrew and the other competitors for taking part. I've run the Comedy Festival for 25 years. I would never do stand-up comedy. So I'm kind of in awe of the fact that they actually rise to the challenge and do it. So I'm very grateful to Andrew and the others.
Well, we're sitting here laughing already, Jeff, so it seems to be working.
It's you're piling on the pressure. No, you're not. It's going to be a great night, and all for a very good cause as well. Many good causes, as Andrew's just said. Former High Sheriff of Rutland, Andrew Brown, now stand-up comedian as of the 25th of October. Thanks for joining us on Rutland Radio. And Jeff Rowe from the Leicester Comedy Festival and the Big Difference Company. Lovely to chat to you this morning. Thanks very much.
Rutland Radio's best bits on the podcast.
So National Poetry Day, Thursday the 28th of September, here with Michaela Morgan here at Lyfield School. Now, you've been working with Mrs Stevenson's class today.
That's right, and they were wonderful, full of ideas, and they've all been writing poems, and the theme of National Poetry Day this year is freedom. So they've made up freedom poems and a freedom chain, and we've been chaining and training all around the playground.
So if people want to write a poem today,
yeah,
then what would be your top tips, do you think?
It's hard to give a top tip because some things work for somebody and others don't work for the same person. But I think one of the main things to do is to read a lot of poetry, because obviously you'll get lots of ideas and you'll see how many different ways there are of doing, different approaches. And then just have a go. Just have the courage to have a go. It doesn't have to be anything intellectual or challenging. You could be small and short and silly, or it could be thoughtful and deep and meaningful. There's all sorts of poetry for all sorts of people. Yeah.
Now, you have got a book out at the moment, which was shortlisted for a national prize recently, all about Alice in Wonderland.
Yeah.
It's full of poems.
Yeah, it's called Wonderland, Alice in Poetry, and it's Lewis Carroll's poems that he used in the Alice books with responses by myself and other poets. So it's a sort of chain of poetry, and it was shortlisted for the Clipper Award, the CLPE Award, so I had to perform on the stage of the National Theatre. So my last performance was on the Olivier stage at the National, and now I've just done year 4 at Lyfield. So you see, I get about and I do different things. I've had another book since then of poetry called Reaching the Stars, and it's poems particularly about women and girls who've done extraordinary things, and I've just been sharing some of those with the children as well, and making the point that you don't have to be a girl to enjoy poems about girls, and you don't have to be a tiger to enjoy poems about tigers. And that book's doing very well, and it's full of fantastic tales of real life achievements that girls and women have had, as well as references to things like fairy tales and history and so forth. So that's my latest. Yeah.
What's that one called?
That's called Reaching the Stars, Poems about Extraordinary Women and Girls. Yeah, and it fits in quite well with this theme of freedom, because some of the people who have inspired a poem in those books have fought for freedom in one way or another.
Kelly Morgan, lovely to see you again here in Nottingham. Thanks for joining us on Rutland Radio.
Thank you, it's a pleasure.
Rutland Radio.
be kind to brother. Tuesday's power is to discover. Wednesday's power is good or bad. Thursday's power is to add. Friday's power is to throw. Saturday's power is to tow. But the power on the Sabbath day is to shapeshift and to rhyme.
Girls of the Week by Ella Clark. Monday's girls wants to play. Tuesday girl is good every day. Wednesday girls gets a tan. Thursday girl has a pretty fan. Friday girls has a nice face. Saturday girl likes a taste. But the child born on the Sabbath day is just the same in every way.
Boys of the Week from Elliot Lemaire. Monday's boys strong and worthy. Tuesday's boys are the best. Wednesday's boys are very proud and speedy. Thursday boys are sympathetic. Friday's boys is to discover. Saturday's boy is to be kind to your brother. But the boys on the Sabbath day is very shy but kind.
Book of the Week by Emily Tyler. Monday's book is weird and loud. Tuesday's book is long and proud. Wednesday's book is short and easy. Thursday's book is cool and teasy. Friday's book is amazing and funny. Saturday's book is about a bunny. But the book that was written on the Sabbath day guides us all in every way.
Rutland Radio.
So it's National Poetry Day today, and I popped along to the Poetry Stone at St Michael's Church, just on the High Street in Stamford, to hear a bit of local talent. This is Richard Barter, Pete Cox and Mike Aldsley.
Her look of shock, her open mouth rebuked me in that silence before she screamed and wept and made me squirm with guilt. And all the seagulls say, "White whales just can't rap." But I'm here to say, that's rubbish. They play long and hard, and once he lost his leg, and now the guy's got a carved ivory peg.
Walls invite you, close as knuckles. Walls give you corners, dark as business.
Richard Barter, Pete Cox and Mike Alderson. I'm not Aldersley, sorry. But there's such a variety there. And all poets, but obviously with poetry you can open up and just talk about whatever you like. And Richard Barter, who is a local poet, he thinks there's a bit of poetry in all of us.
I think a lot of people have got some poetry hidden in the back of their mind, but it's half forgotten. And sometimes it needs a trigger to bring it out, and that's National Poetry Day for you. They might remember something from long ago, or perhaps be introduced to something new, but perhaps their soul is stirred a little and they think about something from a different way.
Rutland Radio.
I'm Gwyneth Gibbs and I'm chairman of the Stamford Civic Society.
Now, over the last week or so, partly in tandem with the Georgian Festival, there's been a chance for people to see how the whole idea of the conservation area came about. The fact that Stamford was first was very much luck and having everything prepared ready, wasn't it?
Absolutely. If you'd made a guess, you'd have said somewhere like York or Bath, somewhere like that, would go first. But thanks to the foresight of the then Deputy County Planning Officer, Stamford had already prepared for everything. And when the civil servants suddenly worked out they'd got to do something about this act, they started to think about pilot schemes and things like that, at which point what was then Kesteven District Council put its hand up and said, "We've done it, and we've done it for Stamford." And they said, "Great, let's go with that then." Obviously, of course, eventually Stamford would have become a conservation area. I mean, there are over 10,000 of them now in the country. But just because of that foresight, we were first. And the really good news for us is that, as you know, tonight we're having a celebration of the 50th anniversary. It is to the day. It's actually the right day. And while Dr. Fennell died, unfortunately, in 1996, his son and his niece and his daughter-in-law are going to be with us tonight. They've come all the way up from Chichester to join us tonight, which to me is very special.
And it's quite ironic, actually, as well, because Chichester, of course, was also in the running.
Absolutely, yes. Yes, but I imagine since he was a Lincolnshire man, I suspect he didn't know Chichester at that time. But
Now, tell us about the conservation area and how the Civic Society itself actually helps protect and reinforce the historic nature of Stamford.
Yes. We work very closely with SKDC, the District Council. They do what they can. Clearly, at the moment, resources are very constrained, and therefore we do work in partnership. If we see something which we think hasn't got planning permission and isn't quite right, we tell them. So we act as a sort of a way of warning them if something's going wrong, and so we work very well together. When I'm talking to them, my major complaint is always that sometimes we say we don't think something is right, and they still give planning permission for it. So I have the odd complaint that really they should just listen to us 100% of the time. But in practice, I guess 80% of the time they listen to us, and it's very, very rarely that we really feel so strongly about something that we go back and say, please, you must consider this. It almost doesn't happen. So it's a really good partnership.
It is tough, I guess, from a council point of view, because they've obviously got government pressure to develop, to encourage new builds.
Yes.
Stamford's been very lucky in the way that that's happened, and obviously it has grown.
Yes, it has. And there are some good examples of what can be built. For example, the old football ground. They are building 50, 60 houses on there to a very high standard, and that is going to enhance Stamford. What you don't want to do is surround the whole of Stamford with inferior quality buildings. I realise we need housing that is affordable, but there are ways of doing that without ruining the essence of Stamford and the essence of the conservation area.
That is actually quite tough, though, isn't it? Because actually, affordable, Stamford is probably the most expensive place to buy a house in our immediate area, probably within, say, 25, 30, maybe even 50 miles.
Yes, I think you're right, and I think it's a pity. There are probably other things one could do about it. There are a number of brownfield sites in the centre of Stamford, which I suspect developers are sitting on, waiting for some opportunity to make a lot of money. But surely some of those could be developed to provide, in keeping, affordable houses. Starter houses, a couple of people may be thinking of the first child. They don't need a 4-bedroom so-called executive mansion. What they need is somewhere comfortable, warm, which they can live in.
And tell us about the Civic Society and how that was actually formed.
That was actually formed 5 years before the conservation area. It started when the Local Government Acts changed, and at that time Stamford became subsumed into South Kesteven District Council, and therefore the town councillor lost a lot of its authority. And at that time people started to think, hold on a minute, Stamford isn't being looked after properly, and therefore they decided that they needed to set up a civic society to help to raise warning flags when necessary. We aren't the first, of course, by a long way. The first one was well over 100 years before that, so we're real babies in comparison to a lot of places. But that's how it started, and it's run continually ever since. We try, obviously, of course, the conservation and the working on planning is very, very important, but I've always been very keen that the society should also have fun, and we try and do that. Partly through talks, partly through visits. We have an annual members' meeting around the fire, which consists of sitting around chatting about life, the universe and everything, and what the Civic Society might do, and various things like that. So we do try and enjoy ourselves as well as doing the serious stuff.
And tell us about this exhibition that people have been able to see here at the Arts Centre over the last week. The archives, I know, have come partly from the Stamford Mercury, obviously having all the prints, but you've actually got a copy of the telegram that was sent on that very day to say Stamford's got it for the first time.
Yes, there was a lot of research went into it, of course. We had a lot of help. Historic England helped a great deal. They raided their archives for us. As you say, the Mercury archives did as well. But the other thing that we did was we talked to local people. And a lot of people in Stamford have lived here all their lives. And what we found was that by asking them, they came up with memories. Some of them came up with photographs. Other photographs came from the ex-Stamford Museum. And you put all of that together, and it sort of triggers all sorts of ideas and memories and so on. The other thing we have done is we have put up, as you've seen, about 30 or 40 boards with information on them, which have got some of these pictures on, but also got a written history of what happened and how it happened through the years. We are expecting that most of that will actually be available on our website in the next week or so. I say most because there are some copyright issues to sort out, as there inevitably are with these things, but we're hoping to get most of it up there.
And here we are on the 50th anniversary of that protection. We're also coming up to the 50th anniversary since we lost Sir Malcolm Sargent.
Yes.
That was a state occasion in Stamford, akin to London.
Actually, I think at the time, obviously I wasn't here, but as I understand it, it was far more important to the people of Stamford than anything about conservation areas, and probably rightly so. And of course now we have a lovely exhibition about Sir Malcolm Sargent in the Town Hall. Which anybody who hasn't seen that, it's open on Fridays, they really should go along and have a look.
Gwyneth Gibbs, thanks for joining us on Rutland Radio, and happy 50 years to Stamford's protection.
Well, thank you very much.
The weekly Rutland Radio podcast.
It's Rutland Radio at breakfast time. I'm Rob Pisani. It'll soon be October. In fact, this Sunday is the 1st, and on Tuesday, the 3rd, there's an evening where the Evergreen Care Trust is going to be, well, I suppose, putting itself on show in Stamford, and also giving you the chance to find out who the Evergreen Care Trust is working with. And we have a special part of the evening revealed to you on Rutland Radio in a minute or two, courtesy of Daphne, who's also our guest today. But Rosie McLennan, tell us about how the evening's going to go. The Lighthouse Project is your big thing, isn't it, basically, about partnerships with local businesses?
Yes, very, very much so. And Burley Park Golf Clubhouse is actually one of our beacons. So we're sort of working in partnership to provide this evening for local businesses, local community groups and local residents, really. I think it's just going to be a really, really very nice evening, and there's, canapes and a bit of fizz, and also some really lovely talks. It's just 6 till 8 o'clock, very relaxed evening, really, and, lovely atmosphere. So I really encourage everybody to come, definitely.
Now, would you like to mention some of the people who have supported you? Because, Evergreen, as so many people know, is a charity, is one that helps principally elderly people around Stamford, Bourne and Deeping in all kinds of different ways.
Yes, definitely. Well, the main sponsors of the event are BMW. Sycamores are providing an executive car for the weekend. So this is sort of, like I suppose a posh draw, if you see what I mean. We've got the One Group, they're providing the champagne, which is really, really good of them. Moise and Cause, and they're providing Prosecco. So there's some fantastic raffle prizes, especially the weekend with the executive car bit. I think it's pretty good.
And it's a chance to win those if you go along to Burley Park Golf Club on Tuesday night.
Yes, absolutely. And also, I particularly like to mention Janet Minahan at Stamford College. She's a principal there. She's going to be doing a talk. And Louise Marsh, obviously. And obviously, Daphne.
Yes, Louise, you're founder of the Evergreen Care Trust, of course.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
Now, Daphne, you're going to be delivering a talk on Tuesday evening. Tell us what that's about.
It's really just my reading of one of our members' diaries. You'll gather from it that, she had a very sad time, and really it's how Evergreen came to her rescue, if you like to put it that way, and turned her life around.
And then more will be revealed on Tuesday evening if you go along.
Yes, if you want the ending, you have to come to hear it.
OK.
Very sadly, my lovely husband Alf died suddenly. I was inconsolable. I missed him desperately. Poor Alf. I relied on him for just about everything. I only wish I had told him how much I enjoyed growing older with him. I loved him so much. I am no longer a spring chicken, and my mobility is very poor. Alf always made sure we had a hot meal and everything we needed. The funeral came and went. Relatives and friends were very kind. But 3 months on, the family visits gradually became fewer and fewer. With their busy lives and the journey time, I don't like to bother them or want to be a burden. I can't cook for myself any more, so since Alf died, I have been surviving on sandwiches. But eating alone 3 times a day reduced my appetite, so I often wasn't bothering to eat at all.
And I guess, really, that is so typical, isn't it, Rosie? That's real life. That's how a lot of people's lives are when their partner passes away and they spend long, lonely days.
It is absolutely awful. And I think the more people that understand that and the more people that understand what Evergreen are actually doing and achieving, the more lives we can change, definitely.
As you said before we started this chat, there is a happy ending to that story from something quite bleak.
Yes.
And I suppose, in a way, it's a great picture painter of the kind of services you offer.
Yes, there is, very much. And I think people will be actually amazed at what we offer. These are not extraordinary circumstances. This is a circumstance that's very, very common. But we mustn't let people slip through the net. We absolutely, as a community, have a responsibility to work together and rescue.
You can always get all the Evergreen Care Trust information from us at Rutland Radio. It is, of course, available online if you're connected. And do go along if you can. Burley Park Golf Club this Tuesday night, 6 until 8. You'll be treated to drink and canapes.
Yes.
A wonderful evening, painting some pictures of what the future could be.
Oh, absolutely. Can I just give you a number for
You
people
certainly
to
can.
call? OK. They call the golf club and speak to Sam Halifax on 01780 753 789.
That's Stamford 753789. It's free for people to go along, isn't it?
Oh,
But
absolutely.
You just like people to be on the list, basically, so
Yes.
they know how many to cater for.
Definitely. Yes, please. That'd be brilliant.
Lovely to see you again, Rosie.
And you, Rob,
Daphne,
as
thank you
always.
very much for
Thank
coming
you.
in and sharing that. It's very touching, isn't it?
Yes, it is. But, you know, I'm afraid it's real life.
Rutland Radio.
My name is Rod Fennell. I'm the son of Kenneth Fennell, who really led the pioneer effort for conservation with his team here in Stamford. And I followed in his footsteps rather less illustriously. But the Civic Society managed to track me down in Chichester, where I used to live, and invited me to attend this 50th celebration of really the results of my father's work. And obviously very pleased to attend and really see this wonderful town again, because I think without the efforts that really Kesterton County Council put in those days, and obviously it's been taken up by a lot of other people, the Civic Society, the local council since then, you wouldn't have the beautiful place that you have now. And it's interesting seeing the exhibition. It shows really that, like many towns in the 60s, that a lot of development was just about to take place. So if I think Stamford hadn't got in early in the queue of conservation areas, it might not be the place that everybody loves today.
What did you know of your father's work at the time? I know you just were talking about the fact that you came round and you took photos to document the town at the time.
Yeah, I think I was probably always destined to be a planner as well, but I was aware of my father's interest, particularly in local history and in archaeology, and he did a lot of work in both. He taught a number of WEA classes in archaeology here in Stamford and did a number of digs in Maxey and Tallington. And I got involved, obviously. I was late school age when this was being undertaken. I worked in the county planning department during the university holidays, including a comprehensive photographic survey of all the listed buildings in Stamford, which was a fascinating project. And I was inquiring to see if anybody knew whether that photo record still exists, because it'd be interesting to see the changes over 50 years.
Do you think he saw it as a race against time as well?
I think he recognised that things were happening. He led the efforts of the County Planning Officers Society and the Council for British Archaeology in really looking at the early conservation work, which, as you know, really the conservation is very different from preservation. It accepts that towns do have to change, but you have to protect the good bits and really enhance them. And I think that he was anxious really to get the work done for Stamford because he saw it under threat, and really that's why I think all the preparatory work was done, which led to Stamford being the first in the queue when the Civic Amenities Act came in 1967.
There must be a lot of people, not only here tonight, but people who live in the town who value the way that development has actually been safeguarded, as you say, because it's conservation. Mm-hmm. It recognises that things have to happen, but in a very tasteful, sympathetic way to whatever is here. There aren't that many places in the country like this then.
Well, I mean, there are an awful lot of conservation areas now, but very few that have got this level of quality. And I mean, it's interesting just looking at the exhibition, seeing the number of famous kind of architectural historians and kind of other people who have recognised really kind of how significant a town Stamford is. So it's very nice for me to come back after a kind of long absence just to see that really the work that Dad did and that really other people have kind of taken up the challenge since has led to what is still one of the most beautiful towns in the country.
Highlights from the past 7 days, the Rutland Radio Podcast.
First off, could you tell us the significance of Sir Malcolm Sargent? I mean, we know obviously the primary school. There isn't any huge orchestra in the country that he hasn't had some influence over, is there? I mean,
country and the world, I think. He was internationally famous. He's primarily associated with the proms, which he conducted in the middle of the last century. And I think the reason that he's revered, or was revered, is not just to do with the music. It's that when the Second World War broke out, he could have gone to America and conducted there, but he chose not to. He came back to this country and put on concerts for the national morale, and people really loved him for that.
Tell us about the various commemorations in Stamford now. The 3rd of October, I know there's a big day planned, but what we're talking about with you this morning is something where children can get involved with on the 8th of October.
Yeah, sure. All Saints was where Malcolm Sargent's funeral was 50 years ago, and we're planning to do a celebration with children. And part of the rationale for that is the other thing that is named after Sir Malcolm Sargent is a charity. It's a charity for children with cancer called Click Sargent. We're doing this concert in aid of that, and we'd like to invite children who maybe sing in school choirs or sing at home. There are lots of kids who just sing around the house all the time, to come and join us at All Saints and make a bigger noise with us. So we'll be doing some of the kind of proms favourites that Malcolm Sargent was associated with, Land of Hope and Glory, Rule Britannia, and so on. And we're also, this sounds a bit odd, I know, we're going to do some Christmas music, because Sargent, part of the thing about him is that other conductors of the time kind of looked down their noses at him a bit. He certainly had the popular touch, and his conducting of the proms received rapturous applause from the large audiences at the Royal Albert Hall. But he also did lots of Gilbert and Sullivan, and he did Christmas carol arrangements for his concerts every year with the Bach Choir in London. So we're going to be singing a Christmas carol, the Zither Carol, in this celebration as well.
Back in 1967, his passing was a state occasion, wasn't it? I mean, there was a massive funeral in London, but also in Stamford. Thousands of people were in town to pay their respects to a man who, was music and Stamford personified.
Yeah, absolutely. You can see this on YouTube, actually. There are moving images of the funeral cortege, and you can see the great and the good of the day who were here for it. Because, of course, although he was neither born nor did he die in Stamford itself, he wanted to have his funeral service here and to be buried here. He's buried in the town graveyard. I must say one of the other small groups that we have performing on the 8th is some former choristers of Peterborough Cathedral Choir who actually sang at the funeral 50 years ago. So there's half a dozen of them who are coming back for our celebration. They're going to sing some Gilbert and Sullivan. It'll be a good event for all ages, I hope.
So this is Sunday the 8th of October, 5 o'clock start at All Saints Church in Stamford.
That's the one.
And we're looking to really do a last-minute recruitment drive for 7 to 12-year-olds to come and rehearse with you.
That's right. We're rehearsing on Fridays, starting on the 29th of September, 6 to 7 p.m. at the church. It would be good to see as many people as possible to make. I think it's good to honour this famous person, actually. And if children like singing with us and they want to stay, then our next service is a pet service, so people can bring their cats and dogs as well as themselves, and we'll be singing about animals, which is great fun.
Fergus Black, Director of Music at All Saints in Stamford, thanks for joining us on Rutland Radio. So, yes, it's 2 rehearsals, this Friday and next Friday, 6 till 7, and then a rehearsal just before the actual concert on the 8th on that afternoon. And it's just a huge occasion, isn't it? 50 years since we lost the big music man of Stamford, I suppose.
Yeah, there's events all over the town. on that weekend. But I think ours is the one you'd want to come to. That's great. Thank you very much, Rob.
Rutland Radio.
I'm at Rutland County Golf Club, and who am I with?
George Lowe.
So what was the best cake today?
The Victoria Sponge, won hands down.
You can't go wrong with a Victoria Sponge.
No, it was beautiful.
And how many people have you had here today?
We've had about 60, 65, which was a very good turnout.
So do you know how much money you've raised?
Yes, we raised about £400, and that's not all the money collected in yet.
So I'm at St Augustine's in Stamford, and I'm with the head teacher, Erica Holt. Now, how was the coffee morning been today?
Was fantastic. We had lots of parents come, lots of cakes, fantastic raffle, and some very talented parents doing nails and tattoos.
Ooh, I've seen them, glitter tattoos. You've got one on your hand. What's your name?
Yeah, Sandra Crossan.
And you've got a glitter tattoo and also very nice manicure.
Yes, we've got lots of very talented parents. Two of the ladies gave their time out this morning, and we're offering manicures for a small donation to the charity. And the children, most of the children have donated £1 for non-school uniform day.
Blackstone's in Stamford with Sylvia. You've got Tracy in the kitchen cooking up all the bacon sarnies.
Yep, we have, bacon and cheese toasties, and we've got plenty of cake as well. Busier than we've been for the last 3 years.
And how much did you raise last year?
246 plus.
Have you got a target this year?
Not really, no, but hopefully to go over it.
It is absolutely buzzing at Stamford Library. I'm with Maura. It's really great here.
Thank you for coming, Lydia. It is absolutely fantastic. We're really overwhelmed and at the same time not surprised, because the people of Stamford have really come out in force to support Macmillan. That's what it's all about, Macmillan Cancer Care. There is nobody untouched by cancer, whether it's family, friends of friends, and really it's so heartwarming that everybody wants to contribute.
It's like a little tea party. You've got little matching teacups and those cute little china plates.
Well, what we're describing it is a pop-up cafe in the library, and yes, we have lots of other events going on in the library now, so it's no longer the hushed atmosphere.
I've made it to Royal. We're at Francis Court, and who am I with?
You're with Brenda and Roz
and Carol.
We were so pleased to see the village supporting us to raise money for Macmillan, and as you can see from the table, we've had a magnificent display of cakes due not to me, I can't cook. Carol was the instigator of this morning.
There's these lovely little strawberry ones as well with little pink bits on the icing.
Yeah, nice, aren't they?
Yeah.
Well, that's Carol's.
Well done, Carol. I am now in Uffington at Cobbs Hill School with Ellie Westwood. How did it go this morning?
Oh, it was really good. It was our first major coffee morning of the term, and how great that it was for such a wonderful cause. The ladies raised £450, and lots of new parents here, lots of young children, lots of yummy cakes, obviously. So it was a great morning.
So what was the favourite cake here today?
I think the favourite cake seemingly was a chocolate brownie. We've got some wonderful chocolate brownie makers at school, so they have a little bit of a brownie bake-off.
Rutland Radio's best bits on the podcast.
Saturday, of course, big day for weddings. You know what it's like if you got married. You have booked the car, you've booked the church. You've probably had a few dress fittings if you're the bride, and that's probably taken a long time to choose the dress, to get everything kind of tucked in at the right places and let out at others. And then you try and pick up your dress and you find that the shop is shut. This actually happened to a couple who got married down at Rushton Hall recently, and their photographer from Rutland, Shooter's mama, Lizzie Adams. Welcome to Rutland Radio. Now, this story has been in the national press. You've had international calls about it already. When did it actually happen?
It was last Saturday, so just a week ago. In approximately 45 minutes, this time last week, I arrived at Rushton Hall for the wedding of Natalie and Mike, and she had no dress and was sat, surprisingly calm. I don't think I've ever come across anybody so calm, let alone just a bride, that she was going to get married in a small white slip dress from her wardrobe. And that was that.
So basically what seems to have happened was that the Thursday before, they thought at the shop that she was going to collect it. She thought she was going to go on the Friday. The shop was shut because they'd finished for the week.
Yeah.
The shop was shut on the Saturday,
Mhm.
and one way or another, they didn't communicate.
No,
and...
big communication breakdown, as far as I'm aware. And she was left without her dress. And I arrived. Their wedding was actually quite early on the Saturday. It was at 11:30, and I arrived at 10:30. So we just had an hour to do something, and she was resigned to, it was then an hour, there was no time, and I just thought, nah, I'm not having this.
Now, you photograph a lot of weddings through the season. Most weekends you're out doing. In fact, you
Yours
did actually.
included.
Yes, the Pisani wedding. You didn't have to do that for us, but you did
No.
make my wife-to-be's lunch.
I
You took the
did.
bridesmaids to the church.
I did.
As part of a photographer's role, it's very much to kind of run the day, isn't it? Because,
Yeah.
there's so many people doing their little bit. They
Yeah.
can't think of the big picture that maybe you're trying to capture as well.
No, I think it does come in handy that we obviously do it every weekend, and we have the experience to know how these things work and everything else. You say with Rachel, things were running a bit behind and there was a bit of panic, so I just removed that and said, if I take the bridesmaids, the car doesn't have 2 trips to do. That cuts us back on 20 minutes. We're fine. Let's go.
And we get married on time. So that was all good for us. So let's get back to last Saturday then at Rushton Hall.
Yeah.
And so this bride was going to get married in her white, smaller dress, kind of cocktail dress, whatever it was.
Not quite. I
No?
mean, it was relatively plain,
Mhm.
just almost like a t-shirt dress,
Yeah.
really. And as as much as I would stress, whatever you want to get married in, I love every variety. I would have taken pictures of her in her jeans. It doesn't matter. But Rushton Hall's a very grand venue. They had quite a formal wedding planned. Mike was all suited and booted. The bridesmaids all had long gowns, and it didn't quite fit. So I made a call to Courtyard Bridal, who are in Kettering, who I've worked with in the past, and I know they're amazing. And I said, I've got a bride without a dress.
Now, you only arrived an hour before the wedding, so
Yeah.
what sort of time was this then?
So I rang them literally at 10:30 because I always arrive a little bit early, Rob,
Yeah.
just to give myself a buffer. So I rang them at 10:30 and said, I have a bride without a dress. And their response was, what? You have a what?
Yes.
I have a bride without a dress. And they said, when's the wedding? In an hour. In an hour. And they were like, what?
And they're
Again?
about 15, 20 minutes away, I'm guessing.
Yeah, Kettering to Rushton, 10 or 15 minutes. So Rhiannon from the bridal shop asked me all the right questions on the phone. How tall is Natalie? How big is she? What shoes is she wearing? Heel height, etc. And we were already hit with quite a problem because Natalie is tiny. I would say a size 6 to 8, and she's also petite, so short.
Mhm.
And
So not their general kind of common
no,
demonstrator size.
Yeah, not, standard size 10 to 12 or anything that you could grab just something off the hook. So we were really fingers crossed that they had something that she could wear. But they asked all the right questions. She said, right, we'll be on our way as soon as possible. So I hung up the phone and said, they're on their way, to which Natalie burst into tears. So it was clearly overwhelming for her.
And it's obviously what she wanted. She wanted the dress.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think even though she'd resigned herself to that fact and it was her wedding and she wasn't going to let anything get in the way, it was, massively emotional for her and wonderful that these people were going to come and try and sort it out for her.
So they had a couple of dresses, basically, didn't they? They
Yeah.
arrived with a load of pins.
They did. They arrived at 11 o'clock with 2 dresses, veils, pins and their sewing machine. So Rhiannon came with her mum, Anne, who does all the alterations and everything at Courtyard, and they had their overlocker. They rode in superheroes, and she tried on the 2 dresses, chose quite a simple classic dress, but Anne immediately stood her on a box, cut the bottom off it, because it had quite a long train on the back as well that just drowned her. She would have tripped over it all day.
She's tiny and
yeah,
and small.
exactly.
Yep.
So then Anne started doing all the alterations, even sewed bra cups into the front of the dress because the fabric was quite flimsy. That just wouldn't have been appropriate. So they did everything. They sewed buttons back on the back, took a few off, made an alteration to the neck, and then sent her off, and she managed to get to her interview with the registrars only 15 minutes late. So it was amazing, actually. It was like you just had to stand back and watch them work because they just did it so fast and so brilliantly.
So here we are a week on.
Mhm.
This story has been in the national press.
It has,
It's about
yeah.
to be on the national TV.
Yeah.
It's going international. Brazil as well as America.
Yeah, I've had online publications from New Zealand, Australia and Brazil contact me. I believe the bridal shop have been contacted by the Today Show in America, just interested in having an interview with Natalie. Yeah, so it's been a little bit nutty from something. I knew that I wanted to blog about it because it was quite special. I'm not really sure I realised that everybody would take it to heart quite so much. But they did do such a wonderful thing that it is really nice that it's been picked up that way.
So that was last Saturday, Rushton Hall. Mike and Natalie. Natalie got a dress which she'd never even seen half an hour before. She was
No.
walking down the aisle, got married, all thanks to you making a call and the goodwill of the bridal shop.
Yeah, and it
because
looked like it was made for her. It
Uh,
was perfect. She looked absolutely stunning.
And her original dress was stuck in the shop because they'd closed a day earlier than she thought. So shall we just mention today's wedding that you're doing? Because they might be listening.
Yeah, hopefully. I'm on my way to the wedding of Jenny and Will, who are getting married in Rutland today. So that should be really exciting. So pre-congratulations to them. I'm looking forward to it, although I do hope it's slightly calmer than last week.
Yeah, Jenny, you've got your dress, haven't you?
Yeah. I hope so.
Lizzie Adams of Shoot It Mama, thanks for joining us on Rutland
Thank
Radio.
you.
So, out of all the saving the day that you've done over the years, whether pinning on buttonholes, and I remember
Mhm.
ours, that's got to be...
I think it's up there. It would be hard to top it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a little scary and by the skin of our teeth. So, yeah, I hope I have a few weeks of calmness going forward. But it felt really good to be able to help and also to have her walk down the aisle and Mike see her not knowing that she even had a wedding dress. So it was really special. It was great.
I would love to see that photo sometime. Really
I will
would.
show you, definitely.
Well, that's it for this week's Rutland Radio podcast. If you have any comments, you can email us via the website, rutlandradio.co.uk, and we'll have a new version on our website from Monday.
This is a download from Rutland Radio. For more information, go to rutlandradio.co.uk.